Hi friends, I wonder if I'm the only one who feels like the world's gone completely mad. The Japanese are the ones again taking a step into a future, both figuratively and literally. At a fluid dynamic conference, a team of researchers led by Shunsuke Komizunai from Sendai University announced that they have taught a humanoid robot to work on scent. True, only with support for now, meaning the cyber hero looks less like the Terminator and more like a tourist stepping onto a beach for the first time after winter, legs sinking, arms flailing, yet still moving forward. To record every wobble and strumble, they strapped accelerometers onto the robot. Now scientists know for sure that robots, just like humans, don't like sand and would much prefer solid road surface. But in the long run, this data will help creating compensation systems, and then mechanical surfers will stride across beaches as if sand simply doesn't exist. By the way, back in 2009, researchers from the Georgia Institute of Technology in the United States came up with their own solution, a six-wheeled platform capable of moving quickly over sand. The trick was that fast-spinning wheels sink, while slow ones do the opposite, they help. The Americans created a wheel dance with different speeds, and the robot drove forward. But the Japanese decided, why make the wheels dance? Let it walk like a human. After all, it's far more inspiring. If a metal hunk can confidently stroll around a beach, then humanity will survive even where our feet get stuck. This news is from 2012. Most likely such a robot walking on sand already exists. I'm deducing this by watching the robot sports competitions this year. Search on this platform Robots Competition Show. It's insanely interesting and amusing. Surely everyone has asked themselves at least once this seemingly naive yet truly brilliant question: why doesn't the stomach digest itself? After all, inside us, hydrochloric acid is constantly being produced. A substance is so strong that it is even used in industry to etch steel. Logically, we might expect that such an aggressive medium would sooner or later eat its own source. But the human body is astonishingly wise. It has ways to protect itself even from its own destructive power. The secret lies in the stomach's remarkable ability to regenerate. The inner walls of this organ are covered with special cells that produce a thick mucus rich in proteins. This mucous layer serves as a shield protecting the tissues from the acid like an invisible armor. But the body goes even further. The moment the acid finishes breaking down the food, the other cells immediately release alkaline bicarbonate, which neutralizes the excess acid and prevents it from causing harm. And yet another, even this superpower protection doesn't offer 100% protection guarantee. The truth is that the stomach does damage itself to some extent. Its acid is so strong that eventually erodes part of its protective layer. But here another astonishing feature of the human body comes into play: its ability for constant renewal. The stomach lining regenerates at an incredibly fast rate. The entire layer is replaced with a new one about twice a week. What seems ordinary to us, to eat without thinking about what happens next, is actually the result of a complex balance between destruction and restoration, between acid and protection, between attack and regeneration. Our stomach literally fights for us every single day, and we don't even notice it. The human organism is one of the nature's greatest creations, a marvelous mechanism where every limb works in perfect harmony with the others. And the deeper we look into its mysteries, the more we realize we possess incredible power and rarely even suspect this. American justice has outdone itself once again. 58-year-old Steven Slevin was awarded $22 million in compensation because he was kept in solitary confinement for 2 years, and they simply forgot about him. Yes, just like a sock in a washing machine, it was there and then it wasn't. He was arrested in 2005 for nothing more than drunk driving, but instead of an investigation or a trial, the authorities apparently decided, why bother? Easier to throw man into a cell and leave him there. And they did this for 22 months. This wasn't imprisonment, it was some kind of extreme social experiment, like, let's see what happens if we ignore a person for 2 years. Slevin recalls that he was barely fed, developed bad sores and fungi infections, and at one point had to pull out his own tooth. Well, reconsidering the US healthcare system, that's almost convenient. No insurance needed, everything DIY. A new life hack, perhaps, how to treat your teeth without a dentist, without waiting in line, and without any expenses. The county authority, by the way, initially offered a modest $2 million for all these delights. Apparently, according to the calculation, a human life and health are worth about the same as nice suburban house. But the jury decided otherwise. No, for forgetfulness, for do-it-yourself dentistry, you have to pay more. Now the county is planned to appeal the decision, of course. Admitting a mistake would be far too much for them. It's much easier to argue that 22 months in a solitary and a lifetime of PTSD aren't really that a big deal. The irony is that Stephen is now also battling lung cancer. It turns out the system not only forgot him in a cell, but decided to throw in a full package of suffering. And the millions of dollars will likely remain a monument to absurdity. The money may be paid, but no one will return Slevin's time and his health. The story that happened at Dairy Queen's cafe sounds like a bad dark humor, but unfortunately it's the harsh reality. Two little girls, grandfathers of 66-year-old James and simultaneously the main hero of this absurd drama, came to the cafe for a simple childhood delight: ice cream. You'd think, what could be safer than a scoop of sweet vanilla? But instead of joy, they received a bonus straight out of a crime report. The dessert contained pills with methylenedioxymethamphetamine and cocaine. Fortunately, the girls didn't swallow any of these adult fillings, and they barely tasted the ice cream at all, so tragedy was avoided. But what came next turned the story from an accident into a full-blown absurd spectacle. The police, after reviewing surveillance footage, discovered that the surprise was added not by an evil chief or some random customers, but by their own grandfather. Yes, the very same James who brought his granddaughters for a treat personally turned their childhood joy into a scene from a crime series. His motive? Unknown. Maybe he wanted revenge on the cafe for a small portion of topping. Maybe he wanted to frame the chain, providing that the ice cream is a little too exciting. Or maybe he simply decided it was time for the girls to experience adult life. In any case, his brilliant plan failed spectacularly. Now, the 66-year-old culinary mastermind faces charges of contaminating food with illegal substances and child endangerment. The ironic part is that the only people who showed common sense in this whole story were the kids. They refused to eat the ice cream while Grandpa demonstrated his own version of children's entertainment. You could say James set a new record of stupidity. Few managed to destroy trust in three things at once: in himself as a grandfather, in ice cream as a symbol of childhood, and in its own sanity. Now he'd face not a dessert but a bitter menu of court hearing, charges, and looming prison sentence. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts, my friends. Share them down in the comments. I'll be reading them all.